right, welcome back. In case you're just joining us, we are on to the second part of the conversations we had lined up for you this morning as we talk about the state of mental health. Did you know that over 700,000 people die of suicide annually? That's according to the World Health Organization. And out of every person who takes their own life, several others have attempted to do so. And we need to talk about this particular tragedy as we edge closer to the 10th of September, which is the day when the world is marking the Suicide Prevention Day. Suicide was once ranked as the fourth leading cause of death among the youth aged between 15 to 29-year-old. This was in the year 2019. I do not know whether anything has changed, but that is why I have experts in studio with me to talk about suicide and to talk about the trends and to talk about some of the things that inform who is at risk. This is a conversation that is important for both you and I, so do stand by. I have in studio with me a lady and a gentleman. I have Regina Nduati. Regina is a counseling psychologist. Thank you for creating time, Regina. We also have Anthony Njenga. He's a counseling psychologist and a mental health advocate. Karibu sana.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we are just a few days and we are counting down to the 10th of September, this coming Sunday, actually, as we mark the World Suicide Prevention Day. Let's talk about the trends in Kenya. Let me begin with you, Njenga. Where are we at, if you had, just look at the status, should we be concerned? I've just shared a global picture, but bring us home now. Should we be concerned?
One thing I'll say for a fact, we should really be concerned because I've been following up with different counties in Kenya. More so people have heard of Kirinyaga County, the cases of suicide there. So I'd say right now we should be concerned, bearing in mind there are still people who are still affected by the post-COVID-19 and also post-election, So a lot has been going on. There have been a lot of complaints. You saw the maandamano. People are going through some different issues here and there, some, stressful life events here and there. So I'd say, honestly speaking, is that we should be concerned as a country and we should really be talking about this because this is so alarming. Yes.
What about from your perspective, Regina? What do you read as we edge closer to the World Suicide Prevention Day? Should we have a reason to really be concerned?
Yes, we really have to be concerned about this because if I may talk from the professional point of view, because I'm also a teacher, and recently I did a research on suicide cases in the teaching fraternity. And just the other day, we lost about 4 teachers in Nyamira County alone, because I actually based my research on Nyamira. And that is just a small representation.
Who died of suicide?
Who died of suicide, yes. And those are just cases that were reported by last year, that is. So we don't know how many other cases have actually occurred by now, because you find that some of these cases go unreported, depending on where they're actually happening. Because you see also the stigma related to it. Because, families don't want to come up loudly and say that members have committed suicide. So it's really a very, something of a very great concern that we really need to highlight and let people know that it is actually there and that we can prevent it.
This research that you did, is it in Nyamira?
Yes.
What were some of the, contributing factors? What is it that was standing out for you that would have led to the death of, I would say, untimely death, because that was not even something that should have happened, preventable death of 4 teachers within such a short period of time?
Yeah. No, it's about just, mostly it's the high cost of living. Because you find that people are not just, able to go through life, like it was maybe sometimes back. And of course, there are those contributing factors. And it's good that we are here to actually highlight them. Like people may know that whatever is affecting them is affecting everyone. So you find that, as a family man, because these were male teachers, and as a family man, you're charged with so many responsibilities. Everyone is looking up upon you. Sometimes you are not just able, to provide for everything, and you just give in the towel. And you're like, since I can't, let me just get rid of my life. So most of them you find that it's just because of not being able to provide well for their families, and everyone is actually looking, upon them to do everything that, is required in the family. Yeah.
And just to add on to what you said, what do you think, from your perspective, are some of the driving forces behind why we are increasingly seeing a surge in the cases of suicide? And she was telling us that these are just reported cases. Because of the stigma that exists in the society,
Yes.
this problem could be bigger than what we know today.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you have identified as an expert in this that could be leading to so many deaths because of suicide?
The most common one, I'd say, I mentioned, the normal stressors za life. Unapata mtu anapitia some stressful life events hapa na pale, maybe relationship issues hapa na pale, and feel hopeless, and feel hana reason to live another day, you see. So unapata this kind of person is in, or is at a point whereby, and I feel nothing is working out in life. Maybe they don't have a job, maybe they don't have anything, they don't have a family, maybe they divorced with their partner, you know. Maybe this is a person who has grown up in a very toxic, you know, environment, childhood. Now unapata maybe also this person has been through physical, sexual abuse, you know. There are a lot of factors that we'd look at, and we are going to talk about all of them today so that someone who is watching can understand what could be the issue. Why am I feeling like this? Why do I have constant, you know, suicidal thoughts, thinking or contemplating, you know, or maybe trying to see if I can buy certain medications to see if I can end my life. You see, so there are different kind of factors that contribute to someone saying or reaching to a point yenye anasema, you know, I don't need to live in this life. I don't deserve to have a chance in this life anymore. But also one thing we need to tell them is that, which we are starting on a good note, is to tell them that it's okay when things don't work out.
It's okay not to be okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's okay if things don't work out. Yeah, but you know the problem is as much as we're saying it's okay to not be okay, it's not okay to stay that way. You know, you should reach out.
Okay, so let's say this: it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Yes.
All
So,
right.
yeah, that is what I can say.
All right, so take us through the psychology, you know, Regina, behind it. Suicide cases are high in populations that are vulnerable, people who feel disadvantaged, discriminated, hopeless, disappointed, and I can go on and on. So what usually happens for you to get to that space? So take us into the mind.
Okay, just as my colleague is saying, it is just the inability to find help.
Yes.
Because again, people are not informed, yeah, that they can actually find help. And you know, like if I may talk about the males, you know, men prefer keeping quiet with their issues. They don't want to speak out and just say what is ailing them.
Mwanaume ni kujikaza.
Exactly, ni kujikaza. Na mwanamume hafai kuonyesha machozi. Yeah, you know, for us ladies, I can easily cry out. I can scream out, you know. But you find that men don't express their emotions. Because if I'm hurting, I'll scream out. Yes. Or I'll shout at you. You know, I will confront you and tell you you've done this and I'm hurting. But a man wants to stay very strong. Of course, we also have women who really want to stay strong. You know, there's this thing of trying to live the ideal life that I want people to see. But deep inside there, that it's not the kind of life that you have. You're actually hurting deep inside. But I want to show that I can provide. The reason why I'll even go take a loan and buy a dress, because I want to dress in a particular way. So I'm wearing a facade to try and hide, you know, behind some kind of a shadow that this is not who I am. So you find that these people may walk strong, you know, may portray that they're just okay, everything is working, yet deep inside they're actually hurting. So what do? One day they just wake up and decide, no, I can't hide this anymore, I can't go through life anymore, so they just decide to take their lives.
Does it happen impulsively, or it is something that is progressive? Just to help somebody understand, because this thing of mental health is one thing that many people still are finding it, you know, when you're talking about mental health, there's still this negative attitude towards it. Nobody wants to say that they are not in a good state of mind. It's being still taken with that negative connotation.
Yes, yes.
So to help somebody to know whether they could be in a problem that they need to fix today,
Yes.
how does it happen in stages, suicide? Does it just come? Or,
No.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't just come. First of all, you know, the moment you're sad and it's prolonged for a period of time, and it develops to a point it is too stressful, to a point you feel depressed. You have some of these signs and symptoms of depression where you withdraw yourself from, family and friends, from the activities you loved doing. Yeah. You feel hopeless, you feel worthless, you don't feel the urge to actually live another day or live a day at a time, So it progresses the moment you become, maybe for example, let me use a good example. Maybe it's someone who has lost a job. And maybe they have a family. So maybe this person may feel like, for example, if it's a man, I don't have a job, I have a family. Maybe I have 2 kids, or I have 1 kid, I have a wife. They're looking up to me, there's fees to be paid. Now, if I cannot be able to take care of my family, then who will? So that leaves this man feeling like, so it's better I just take my life and just leave them because I am useless. I am no man because I cannot take care of my family. But it's okay to not be okay. It's okay if things don't work out. It's okay if you don't have a job. It doesn't mean you'll stay that way forever. Keep on doing your part. Apply for the jobs. Pray. Eventually, someday you will get that job. It doesn't mean just because things are not working at the moment, it doesn't mean your situation is permanent. Even life itself is temporary. Even things in life are temporary. So it doesn't mean just because you don't have a job. It doesn't mean just because you've grown up in a very chaotic family. Maybe you have undergone physical, sexual abuse. Maybe you went through bullying, harassment. You feel shame. Maybe there's something you did and you are not supposed to do and it just happened. And that makes you feel like, I don't deserve to live a day at a time. And you find yourself now, the moment you're sad, prolonged sadness, you get to a point now you have these signs and symptoms of depression. And most of the time, people don't like calling a spade a spade. They like using some, wanasema, most people say that hakuna depression. Maybe tu ni life tu challenge ya kawaida. Some, for example, kama unapata mtu halali vizuri, this person does not have good sleep, ama eating pattern yake haiko sawa, anaona this is normal, and they don't even take up that step to actually reach out or even talk to someone, or maybe, have that support, maybe from family or from friends. But this is also to tell the audience or someone who's listening to me and watching me right now, to tell you that it's okay if things don't work out. It's okay if right now you are at a point where you feel sad. But what matters is what you do, the initiative you take, the step you take.
Yeah, what you do about it.
Yes.
And I like what Njenga said. Many people, just calling it depression is a bit difficult. Yes. Because I think of the stigma in the society and all. Very few people would admit that they have a mental health issue. The moment you mention that word mental, there's this negativity that comes with it, which I think is something that we also need to demystify. But before we get to that, Regina, what's the nexus between suicide and mental health? Because many people are just walking and saying, si baya sana, siku vibaya sana, until we lose that life because of suicide. So what's the relationship between suicide and the status of the mental health?
Okay, you find, the status of mental health generally in the country is not very good. And you see, like we are saying, people don't want to come out and talk about it. But you can really gauge what is happening by the disorders that you can see people portraying. Some of them are stressed, some of them are anxious. Some of them are they just have phobias, they just fear. There's just that fear around, like we don't know what will come out tomorrow. We don't know what is going to happen, So you find that they're not able to deal with their day-to-day issues. So some of them get so stressed, some of them get depressed, but as Njenga will say, they don't seem to realize, or they don't just seem to show it. Like currently, if you look at the current status of life, the living standards have really gone high. And there's what you call inflation. Yes. Whereby the prices of commodities and services will go high, but your wages, your salaries remain the same. So you're not able to plan.
And the taxes are also going high.
Exactly, yes. So you're not able to plan for what you have. And just as he has mentioned, it's about trying to live within your means, but most of us are not actually doing that. So that is where you find us, going for these small loans. There are these SMEs around. So mara uko na fuliza, mara you have a loan from, so you're taking loans from all these small groups to try and fix your life. But you're supposed to fix your life within what you have. So you find that you reach a stage whereby you cannot deal with any financial related catastrophes. So you're actually there, kuna madeni, Everyone is actually nagging you. They want, their debts paid, and yet you're not able to do it. And you know what is happening? Now, when some people are not able to meet their financial obligations, whatever small they get, what do? They want to try and, to camouflage the reality. So they'll even go into drugs and alcoholism. So somebody thinks, when I drink, I will have medicated my problems. Only to come, when they are sober, they realize, oh, the problems only got worse. Because whatever small I had, I've used on alcohol, I've used on drugs. So it becomes even worse. So you realize you're not sorting out, any problem. So what happens? You just get rid of your life. And maybe just to take you back again, because you asked if somebody can tell that these people are actually at the verge of committing suicide. Yes, he talked about isolation. These people may just want to be on their own. They don't want to relate with anyone. There are those, sleep disorders. Some of them go hypersomnic. They just sleep and sleep. Some of them go into insomnia. They just can't sleep at all. There's that wakefulness. They keep waking up in the night. They can't be able to sleep. They can't concentrate on the jobs. Like now, the people you are working with here, you can tell their normal working patterns, but you just find they have changed.
That has changed.
Yes, they'll just report to work and they just want to leave. They don't even want to work. Or they come and there are those mood swings. Today they are talking, tomorrow they don't want to talk to anyone. So those are signs that you need to watch for. Sometimes you find they'll even start talking about sasa hii maisha ni ya nini. Somebody keeps on saying maisha ni ya nini. Ask
so the surrounding also needs to be alert.
Yes, you need to be alert about what they are actually talking about. You'll even find them saying, mtu akiruka kutoka pale juu, what is the worst that can happen? They want to dare heights. They'll get into vehicles and start driving, and they want to drive so recklessly, knowing very well they can easily cause an accident. So when you watch such kind of things, know that this person is actually at the verge of committing suicide. So that means those who are watching can easily watch out for such kind of signs and try to avert, try to talk to these people, try to urge them to seek for help, because it doesn't kill to seek help.
And if you haven't seen someone for a long time, reach out, find out where they are, why you're no longer seeing them, because you've talked about isolation as one of the telltale signs. Let's talk about this unique population, Njenga, and this 15 to 29, there's a concern about the high rates of suicide among this population. In 2019, it was ranked as the 4th leading cause of death among the youth. Today, I don't know what the situation is like, and what is it that is unique about this age group that makes them vulnerable to to suicide?
One thing I'd say for a fact is that this age group between 15 to 29, they are living under the current social pressure. They want to fit in, The moment now this 15-year-old or 20-year-old, we have social media apps here and there. And maybe this young person is on social media. Maybe you're a parent and you have a teenager at home, and you rarely even want to see what your child is doing on his or her phone. So you find that this particular age group between 15 to 29, they want to fit in. They have the urge to fit in. They want ile feeling ya wajulikane pia hao wamechanuka. They don't want to feel left out, because if they feel left out, watafeel ni kama hao ni washa. Kuna hii phrase siku hizi wanatumianga, ukikaa kama we ujui kitu we ni kienyeji. Unaona? Now, unapata mtu akikuita kienyeji utafeel vibaya. Kwa sababu unaona sana nionaje, kwani anaona sijachanuka, amekubebaje bana, ananitaje kienyeji. So this particular age group, hao watu wanataka kufit in. They want to do what others are doing. They want to compare themselves with what they are seeing. Maybe they are on social media. They are seeing other celebrities post this and that. For example, if it's a lady, ameona a certain celebrity, amekaa vizuri, body wise and stuff, and they go ahead even pay a lot of money. Na hii pesa maybe ni ya wazazi, waende wakae tu venye wameona huyu anakaa hivi. One thing I'd also want to tell even the young people, because I can imagine they are also watching me right now, and maybe there's someone who is watching and is in that kind of state, akona hiyo social pressure, they want to fit in. Let me tell you something, you don't have to fit in. In this life, you came alone and you'll go alone. You don't have to do what people are doing. You don't have to be where your friend, just because you feel you studied with a particular friend of yours in maybe high school or primary school or in campus, and you feel like your friend is so much ahead of you and you want to be like them. You're comparing yourself with them and you're giving yourself too much pressure. You don't know what this friend of yours has done to get that car or this house. And you want to be like them. You want to get that which they have. And you don't know. You know one thing I say, easy come, easy go. You know, life is a process. I think there are 3 principles I even tell people. You know, the first principle is patience. The second one is perseverance. And the third is growth. Patience, perseverance, and growth. If you master those 3 principles in life, it doesn't matter what you see on social media. It doesn't matter whether you have friends who are ahead of you financially, whether they're ahead of you in terms of education. It doesn't matter. Just as I said, it doesn't mean just because you have not gotten there, you won't get there. You will get there eventually, a day at a time. Be patient, persevere, grow, and don't forget to pray.
All right. Well, prayer, that's important. Thank you. And, you know, let's talk about prevention. The World Health Organization says that over 700,000 people die annually because of suicide. Actually, to be exact, 703,000. I was just doing the math. Per day, that means about 1,917 per day, globally. These are people, sons, daughters, husbands, wives, friends. These are not just mere statistics. And I call them preventable deaths that ought not to have happened. So is suicide preventable? Let's talk about that, Regina. And if yes, how?
Yes, suicide is preventable. And it all just, again, goes back to the symptoms. You have realized, you've noticed someone is behaving in a certain way. What can you do about it? What are you doing about it? And he's just, talked about this age 15 to 29 years, who are focusing on conforming to the other peers. Life is about peers. You know, when I was growing up, life was about parents, you know, parental interjections. What does the parent want? What does the teacher want? But you find that there's focus on peers. And it's also happening in us, the grown-ups. You know, this need to be accepted among peers, whereby you're living a lie, living a kind of life that is not actually yours. Now, you find that we are also piling a lot of pressure on young people. As parents, even in schools, in colleges, there's this need for them to excel. And you know, you keep on reminding them, you are the leaders of tomorrow. So for you to be the leader of tomorrow, you have to excel. You are the one who is supposed to come in, run the businesses, do what, you know, take up political roles in the family. So we charge them with a lot of, pressure. Because we put so much pressure on them, because we have a lot of high expectations on them. And when they find they cannot be able to live to our expectations, what happens? They have to get rid. So what we are saying is we can prevent, because it's about what can we do, those of us who are living with these people who are vulnerable. We need to try and get involved in their lives. If it's, for example, the young people, at the family level, what can you do? At the church level, the school, college level, community level, there's everything that we can do. Like, we can come up with sensitization programs. Like, for example, I do health talks in our church, where we do sensitization. Like May, we had the Drug Awareness Month. And you know, drugs is one of the leading causes of death again in people. Yeah, so we normally have those, like now this is the suicide awareness. Yeah, so we come up loudly and talk about it. So by sensitizing people, they get to realize, oh, these are things that we can actually work around our lives and we can prevent. Pia tunapigia debe the work that we do, counseling, therapy, that people can be able to come up and do therapy. And you know, sometimes people fear therapy because they think it's very expensive. Because like if you are to ask me the current charges, Jenga, maybe I'll tell you for a session, I'll charge you even 3,000 shillings. Yeah. So when you hear that, you get scared.
But before we even get to counseling, Jenga, you know, before you get to that breaking point, you know, how do you make sure that you're in charge of your mental health? What does it take to be healthy mentally? What do we need to embrace in our lifestyle before you get to that point where it's too late to save that life?
Now, one thing which is very important you need to embrace is you need to live in the present. Very important. Live in the present. And most of the time as human beings, we carry a lot of pain from our past. We carry them along even towards kuzeeka na huko mbele. To a point we find that unapata umekuwa mzee, uko na ile hasira, because there is something you have not dealt with. There is that past you have not dealt with. You understand? But there is one thing that I would also want to tell the people, kuna vitu zingine we don't have control of. Like the past. We don't have control of what happened to us in the past. Because I can imagine maybe you have been through a very difficult past. You have been through a very difficult maybe childhood. And you growing up has been very traumatizing. And right now you're not okay mentally. You feel like you're drained. You feel like you have all these signs and symptoms. You have isolated yourself. You have withdrawn yourself. You have sleep issues, eating issues here and there. You feel hopeless, stuff like that. But now let me tell you something, and I'll tell also the audience that are watching. You need to live in the present. It doesn't matter what happened to you in the past. I know someone will say it is easier said than done, but there is one thing you have to remember, is that in this life, you have to live in the reality and you have to be positive with life. It doesn't matter what you went through, because one thing about our minds and our brain is that they're so powerful. Whatever you feed it with, that's how it will be. There's a video I was seeing yesterday about this person was saying that, when it comes to relationship, tunasemanga, men are dogs for women,
Okay.
and for men they say, take how many minutes to fear women? Kuna hiyo saying, Let me tell you something. Whatever you take into your mind, that is how it will be. If you take that men are dogs, well, you'll always meet dogs. Why not? That is what you have taken in, right? But if you take in that it doesn't matter how painful your past has been, it doesn't matter how your childhood, how painful it was, it doesn't matter how many relationships and how painful it was, but you're positive that even if things didn't work out then, or even if things are not working out now, they will work out eventually. The moment you have that positivity, the moment you actually practice on just living a stress-free life, usikuwe na mambo mingi, usibebe mambo mingi kwa roho. Hadi wakati wa siasa tulikuwa nasema siasa usiweke kwa roho sana. The same thing with life, usiweke vitu mingi kwa roho, unabeba a lot of pain, a lot of past.
Catch my feelings.
Catch my feelings haraka hivi. I know it is easier said than done.
Yeah, but other than that positivity,
yes.
Regina, from also your perspective, what else can somebody be able to do just to embrace a life that would keep them in check mentally, for them to have less mental issues and stress? Because he says avoid stress. Yeah. Avoiding stress is not as easy. It's stressful, let me say that. It's stressful to avoid stress. How do you make it happen?
Yeah, sometimes it's just about, and of course, I'm just adding on what he's saying.
Yeah.
Being positive, just keeping that positive perspective. And as you're saying, it is never positive to be positive in a negative situation. Of course, even that positivity itself can cause you stress. Like najidanganya, I'm lying to myself, things are okay, and I know things are not okay. Like you've seen people at their place of work, they're jumping around, they're so jolly, but when they go back where they are alone, they find themselves crying because things are not just working. But you can also engage in positive conversations, speaking out. To me, I believe in speaking out and also just trying to find out what could be causing the problem and how can I as a person fix it, not focusing about other people. And maybe let me give this example. We've been raised, like Africans, we've been raised to believe the men are the breadwinners. So if I am the woman, I'm also in that household and I can see things are not just working for this man and I'm also working. Why can't I also bring my finances on the table? Why can't we do the cost sharing? And the reason why most men are actually taking their lives, it is because they have no one to share their burden with. Because the women believe, and there's even this saying, asipoleta pesa hapa atapeleka huko nje. Because of the world being mad with their polygamy, infidelity, So women believe that if the man doesn't bring the money back home, they'll take it somewhere else. So they'll rather, yangu ni yangu, yake ni yetu. So there's that saying, and actually it eats up into men. So women should also be able to even to run major projects in the home. Who said that they're actually for men only? A woman can also come up with a project. Buy that car, build that house according to your level of income. Msaidiane, you put your resources together. Educate this child. See these children, talk to them. It's not about the man alone. Or again, this notion like the children belong to the woman, so it is you, woman, to know how the kids are behaving. If a child performs well, ni wa baba. When they perform badly, yeah, wewe ni kama mama yako, you get those kind of things. So it's just about putting things together, working together as a group. So that way you'll reduce. And also, you know, people get also disturbed, like the young people, when they see conflicts between the parents. Of course, another cause of, suicide is the domestic violence. So it's just about trying to sort your issues or doing them away from the children. Because if they see that the family is not just working, I mean, it's just a reason enough for them to take their lives. So it's just about having conversations, thinking outside the box, consulting other people. How do you make this work? I mean, it doesn't make you a lesser person. If you came to ask, I've seen you doing this project and it has succeeded. How did you go about it? And then you can do the same. But you see, the problem with us, we want to copy what other people are doing. We don't want to consult, and then we fail. So when you start a very big project and it fails, you end up taking your life. Because what will people think about?
What will people say about your failure?
Yeah.
People are afraid of failure. Nobody wants to be branded a failure. And as we create awareness around suicide, Njenga, let's talk about stigma.
Okay.
And how it has impacted, you know, the visibility of this problem and the solutions that ought to be there. Because there is still a lot that we need to do to just demystify and break down the myths that are there, you know, surrounding this issue, suicide. Let's talk about stigma and how it has affected us in terms of getting tangible solutions.
Yeah, stigma is bad, honestly, because now the moment we stigmatize issues to do with mental health and mental health awareness, or things to do with suicide and suicide prevention, then I don't think we'll have a way forward as a country, and also as Africa, and also as a global nation, you know. So we need also as a country, and also as an individual. Actually, let me use this as an example. As an individual, there is one thing I usually even repeat, and I'll repeat it again for those maybe who never listened the other time. And I'll say this, you know, we are living in a very sad, would I put it sad, country, where they are so mad about the taxes and how the cost of living is, to a point unapata there's this statement they say, maisha ni yangu, we shughulika na yako. You know, you don't want to check on your friend. You don't want to get to know how you know, unaendeleaje. Right now you might be smiling at me, and maybe that smile is a smile of pain.
Yeah.
You know, even the strongest people are broken.
Yeah.
Even the strongest people. You might be having a friend in your contact list. You don't even get to know how this friend is doing. It doesn't matter whether you're dealing with an issue or not. But you know, it's good to have that support system. You support each other, help each other grow, move from one level to another. But the moment you're there as an individual, and you're saying maisha ni yangu, shughulika na yako, then the following week or the following day, you hear this certain friend has died of suicide. And you're there posting RIP, you are a good friend. That is hypocrisy.
Last when.
Yes, that is hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Instead, check on them.
Check on people.
Check how they're doing. Text them. You don't have to call them. And how do you check on someone? Because that could be a question. Maybe someone is asking, yes, I check on my friends daily. So how will I know if my friend is not okay? Number one, if you're using a conversation maybe on SMS or on WhatsApp or on Messenger, or you're texting on DM on other social media platform, you have texted. Let's say, for example, I've texted you, hi. You've responded hi too, most definitely. Yeah? And I asked you, the normal question is, how are you? And most of the time you respond, I'm fine, or I'm good. And most of the time we leave it at that.
Yes.
You don't want to get to know how this person is doing. How I do it is, yes, you have told me you're fine, you're good. but maybe hata unaweza ka emoji. Siku hizi wanakanga emoji ndio usiulize maswali mingi. Ka smile, I'm fine,
people are just shutting you out.
Exactly.
You could actually want, and as we have this conversation, just to notify viewers that the head of state, President William Ruto, has arrived at, the Kenyatta International Convention Center. Remember, we are having the Africa Climate Summit right here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. And what you can see there are live pictures of what is happening right now at KICC, as there's a parade that has been mounted on his honor that just as he arrives. This is the third day that this conference is taking place. And today there's going to be a very key declaration. It's being termed the Nairobi Declaration, that is expected to now chart the way forward on how the continent is going to push this agenda, and also just paving way for the agenda to be discussed, as a matter of interest for Africa in COP28 happening later on in this year. So I just want us, we'll be crossing over definitely to that particular venue shortly. And I just want to come back to studio just to have a final discussion, a round of, I just want us to have a final, all right, I'm guided that we have a few more minutes to continue having this very pertinent conversation, but just to put you on alert, we'll be crossing over to KICC shortly. In studio, I'm having a panel of two, a lady and a gentleman, as psychologists, also experts in matters mental health. And before we just went to that update, Regina, we were talking about the stigma. And one interesting thing that Jenga has just even brought out there, it's important to reach out, but we also have this culture where we are not really free to share our issues with people. So you could be going through so much, but mtu akikuuliza how are you doing? It's always fine. How do we also get to a space where we can genuinely, just say how we are doing, whether it's good or bad?
Yeah, when you're asking a question, like he says, he goes ahead. Yeah, there's what you call open-ended questions, and there's closed-ended questions. If I ask you how are you, you'll tell me you're fine. But if I ask you how are things, how are you doing, maybe you'll try to explain a little bit more. Yeah, we haven't been in touch for some time. How is family? How is work? So, you'll tell me.
So the approach is also important.
Yes, the approach is what matters, and it will determine whether someone is going to give an elaborate explanation to you or if they are not going to do that. And again, remember we said that, just as he's saying, when somebody disappears, they're just not there. They've been so jolly, they're just closed. You can easily reach out. Now, stigma is about people don't want to be known that they're actually suffering. Families don't want to know. I've heard of families where people have committed suicide, but they have to decorate it, it is not actually suicide. So only the inner circle will know the truth. But the outside world will not know about it, So it will just be sudden illness. Yeah, yet they know what it is. But if only people could just come out loud and say, yes, it was suicide, it could put other people all alert. And one of the causes of suicide is actually family factors. Sometimes it actually runs in the family. So if you hear that another death has occurred in this family, maybe people can come up and try to, just talk to these family members, try to help them sort their issues so that they avert another possible suicide. So people just don't want to be connected, People don't want to be connected to a life of poverty. So what happens? Everything that I'm going through, I'm going to camouflage. I'm not going to come out loud and say, I'm actually going through this. But we are just appealing to people to come up clean and talk. If it's about marital issues, at least get someone you can confine into. Because we want to show that everything is actually rosy. But if everything is actually rosy, then why do roses grow among thorns?
Yes.
Yeah?
So there could be thorns in there.
Yes,
You need to talk about those thorns.
Yes. I mean, for you to get a plant, the seed has to rot first, isn't it? So it is normal for your life not to go well, and then it actually turns around to, something better. So just speak out to someone you trust. Because again, the problem is people are not trusted. There's what we call mushene udaku. People like kudakua mambo ya wenyewe. They want to hear, and then the next person, have you heard? Have you heard? So, you will even forget and ask the owner of the story, have you heard?
About
only to realize you're telling the owner of the story. So because of that lack of trust, people don't just speak out. They rather die with their problems.
Yeah. And we should also be keen on those people who've attempted suicide.
Yes.
Because before it actually happens, you could find cases where there's somebody who has tried, and people know around that person that this person has tried to take their own life, maybe twice, maybe thrice. So we should be sensitive to such cases as well, and try and help this person find help before it's too late. As we edge closer to the 10th of September, that's the day we are marking the World Suicide Prevention Day. What should be the point of focus? Every year there is something different that is pressing. This year, there is this, the theme is centering around creating hope through action. What does this mean from where you sit? And even if you were just to expound this further, what should happen as something that we should focus on as we mark this very important day?
First of all, the way you've said it, hope through action. What that means in short, according to me, I'd say is taking action. And if you feel that you're not okay, you feel like you have these signs, these telltale signs and symptoms of, any mental health illness, because, when you're depressed, or maybe if you have any other mental disorder, that also could be a risk factor of suicide. So one thing you need to understand is that you need to reach out, take action towards whatever issue you may be handling. If you have these signs and symptoms that we have just mentioned, and there are many more signs and symptoms that are there, and if you feel you're not okay emotionally, you cry consistently, you have some of these signs and symptoms, you should reach out. Don't fear, don't live in fear whereby you feel like the only solution towards your particular issue is just by maybe attempting suicide or dying by suicide. That is not the solution. You can reach out. There are people who can help you. We are here. I and her, we can help you. Not only us, there are other professionals, there are doctors, there are people in the church fraternity, there are also family members. Most of the time we fear reaching out, or most of the time people fear reaching out because they fear what perspective will you have on this issue that I'm bringing to you. Maybe you feel like nikikuja kukwambia issue yangu hautaweza kunisaidia. But one thing you need to understand is these people are having this mental illnesses, they only need someone they can, talk to. Mtu mwenye anaweza msikiza pia. You might not have that professional knowledge on how to help this person, but the moment you just allow me open up and tell you whatever that I'm going through, it doesn't matter whether you will help me psychologically, but the moment you just give me that chance or platform to just open up and you listen, don't sympathize with me and say, oh yeah, utakuwa sawa. No, be empathic. Empathy is trying to fit in and understand this person's issue. You may not exactly be in the same situation, but try imagine, if this were you, what could you have done? Don't try saying, utakuwa sawa, hata kulikuwa na mtu mwingine alikuwa na hii issue. Start comparing. Sasa alipitia hivi pia akatoka. No, it won't help them. So you need to understand, take action in whatever issue you may be dealing with. If you have these signs and symptoms, reach out. I'll be leaving my number after this, because maybe kuna mtu anafeel, I feel you're the right kind of person I'm going to open up to, or maybe she feel she's the right kind of person and I open up to. We are here to help you. And not only us, there are other people who can help you. Don't die in silence. I need you. The country needs you. Your family needs you. The society needs you. So don't die in silence. The way it started to Kisema, it is okay to not be okay.
To not be okay.
But it's not okay
to stay that way. Regina, do we have a society that is ready to absorb this weight that comes from somebody who could be going through a mental issue? Because you're saying, yes, open up. But he has cited some things that really lead me to start thinking whether those people we say open up to, are they empowered to know how to absorb this information and to know how to use it to help that person?
Yes, I will say, just as he's saying, we have so many counseling firms and we have so many trained counselors, psychiatrists, psychotherapists. All these people can be able to take in these people and work with them. So we just urge people to seek out for these services, because I may not know who is in need of the services. And it's good you are airing this program, because people know that we are aware about what is happening around and that our hands are wide open to receive such kind of
But
people.
Sometimes you may not be in a position
yes.
to reach a counselor, a professional. That issue is burning there. It's hurting you that time. Do we have a population, a society that is ready to accommodate and to help this person in that space before even referring them to the next, professional who is around? Because this is about creating awareness. Let's talk to this. Let's now leave that person who is facing a mental issue. Let's talk to the society on what they need to do to be able to be ready to help out somebody who reaches out. Because we are saying reach out, but then do we have people who are ready to help you when you reach out?
Yes, we have so many social workers around. We have support groups around. Just the way, like for alcoholics, we have Alcoholic Anonymous, who are always ready to take in such kind of people and talk to them. We have church organizations. Yeah, so I believe that we have so many groups around that can be able to absorb these people. In fact, life starts at the family level. So we sensitize families also to try and find out who among them is actually ailing so that they can be able to absorb them, take them in, talk to them, even before they refer them to the available services. So we have a lot of support, a lot of social support around. But as I'm saying again, it's just about a matter of trust, that who can I actually divulge my issue actually in. Otherwise, the social support is there. We have friends, sometimes the immediate person that you can talk to is your friend. Like when you're getting married, you have the best couple. What is the role of this best couple in the matters of honor? And that is why people are told, pick on people who are mature, who have gone through marriage, who can be able to deal with marital issues. Because some of them also cause suicide, So at least get people close to you who have experience, who can be able to bring you on board when you're going through such kind of stuff, and they can be able to talk to you and give you referral to where you can now get professional help. Yeah.
And as we mark this very important, day, and I would say just dedicating this entire month to creating awareness on suicide, if you look at what is happening in the country in Njenga, what do you think we have achieved? What milestones can we celebrate or cite, if any, in terms of addressing mental health? There was a time, I think, was it around 2019, that President, the former President Uhuru Kenyatta established a task force that was chaired by your namesake, Dr. Frank Njenga. I don't know whether that achieved anything, or is there anything else that we can say that we have done as a country that we are proud of in terms of addressing this crisis?
Yes, the first one is what we're having now. Shouldn't we be glad for that?
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Awareness.
Exactly. I think most of the time, talking of that, we fail to recognize the small steps. We want the big step. This might seem small, but this is a big thing to someone who's watching. We have impacted millions of lives only on this show. Maybe hakuna strategies mingi zimefanyika, na maybe zenye ziko maybe hata kama hazifanyi sana, but right now this conversation, honestly speaking, with you as the host, and ile blessing itakufuata.
Blessing tena, but it's key what you're saying.
Yes.
Awareness is important, just opening up this conversation and making it a normal conversation.
There's one thing I want to mention, and imekuja akiongea about investing on your mental health. I find people, it happens with clients, they approach you, it happens. What are the counselors and psychologists wanakuambia? They feel like, the professional field, they're counseling and psychology should be given pro bono. Yeah, I understand. We give pro bono. We do give pro bono. Even right now, it is a form of pro bono. But now, one thing people should understand, the same way you invest on your physical health, you need to invest on your mental health. Actually, if your mental health is not okay, you cannot be okay, even physically. The same way when you have malaria, you'd go to the hospital, ufanywe test, na maybe uende hata kama ni NHIF, na hiyo NHIF utalipa hata kama ni 500 monthly. The same way you should invest on your mental health. Don't be like, I thought you give free. Yes, we do give pro bono, but you need to understand, investing on your mental health is very important.
But even as I take you back to that particular question, and also to get your perspective, Regina, do you think there is something that we have done? Issues that he's talking about touch on cost.
Yes.
Touch on, lack of, you say we have experts and professionals, but not as many as we ought to be having. People are facing problems in every corner of this country, in the remotest village. Do we have those experts everywhere? There's a lack of, enough professionals to address this issue enough money to be able to be spent or invested, it's still not been given that priority as a health issue, like public health, other cases like malaria, like cholera, like all that has been given budgeting and all that. But when it comes to mental health, still taking a back seat even in terms of budgeting. So what are some of the gaps that you're seeing, and how do we seal them? Because this month should give us solutions to the problem that we're discussing.
Yeah, right now, like I'm a member of Kenya Counselors and Psychologists Association, and what we are doing at that level is engaging people in a lot of trainings, yeah, whereby we are sensitizing people, you know, to be able to know that they can be able to take care of their mental health, you know, either personally or through groups and all that. Again, if you look at the, you know, like when we began, we talked about you know, the high cost of living being a major cause of suicide. And you find that it's good to appreciate even what the country is doing. Like, I mean, even the current summit is actually going to mitigate some of these problems, because there's also the fuel levies. You know, at least there's this subsidy that the president has actually given. We need to appreciate that. The subsidized fertilizers, we need to appreciate that, because all this goes down to the food production, which is a very major cause of suicide. If there is no food, it's a basic need. You know, people are not going to live well. You get? So the government is actually doing something. Now, the government is also now recognizing the counseling profession, because like now, the KCPA, as I will say, is now has been given the mandate to train the TVET assessors. So we are actually now being given some kind of recognition. The other day we held a symposium at KICD, whereby we brought in the Ministry of Health to try and recognize the work of, the role of counseling in the country, so that we can be given, you know, the weight that we need to be able to take over, our role in the country and to try and mitigate such kind of cases in the country. We are also fighting to have our own union. Mr. Njenga, I'm sure you know about that. So that, you know, the way teachers have unions, you know, other companies have unions, even as we need to have our own union. So that, you know, when we have, you know, when we get that recognition, you know, as a profession, I'm sure we are going to be able to deal with so many cases. Because as you say, there might be people who are actually working with that, but they don't have the training, they don't have the skills, the techniques to deal with such kind of cases. Yeah.
All right, well said. Regina Ndwati, a counseling psychologist, and Anthony Njenga, also a counseling psychologist and mental health advocate. Just 30 seconds each for your final remarks, Anthony.
I'll just leave my social media and number. If you're watching me, my social media handles on Instagram, on TikTok at official Anthony Njenga, official then ANTHONYNJENGA. And my number for counseling services is 0725 02 9398. I repeat, 0725 02 9398. It is okay to not be okay.
It is okay not to be okay. Regina, your final thoughts.
Okay, so I'm Regina. I run a firm called Sila Counseling Consultancy Services based in Buruburu, Phase 5. You can reach out to me through 0722 812362 or 0733 873368.
Thank you so much.
Let us demystify counseling.
Thank you so much. And that's how we wrap it up right here on Daybreak this particular morning. What we're saying is it is okay not to be okay. What's not okay, though, is for you to stay that way. Take action. The theme for this year's World Suicide Prevention Day centers around giving hope, creating hope actually through action. What action are you going to take to be in charge of your mental health? That is what we are leaving you with this morning. But of course, we are also following up for you that important conference that is taking place in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, the Africa Climate Summit. And we will be crossing over to KICC just to also follow up on what is happening today on day 3 of this particular summit. President William Ruto has just arrived a few minutes ago just to be able to be part of the discussions that will be taking shape today. Today, there's going to be the Nairobi Declaration. And of course, yesterday we saw the heads of state give very many, sentiments regarding their voice on the particular problem that you're facing as a continent. But for now, that's how we wrap it up right here on Daybreak. Of course, we do this each and every morning. Keep it Citizen TV for the day's coverage of the events that will be shaping news and other matters. My name is Safin Achieng Oma. Have a lovely day ahead.